She's like a sickness in my brain, a vision standing by the window pane. She ripples through the blinds and leaves me in a daze. It's in the way her body moves me, the way she grabs me and intoxicates, until the signals in my mind forget to operate. Fragile skull. I take my pleasure from my alcohol. She'll never give you any.
Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. This is Coffee and Crime Time, and today is Memorial Day. I'm recording this on Memorial Day, so the neighborhood around me is quite loud. Everybody's home from work, everybody's outside, their dogs, their kids, everybody's just sitting outside being extra loud today. So if you hear any screeching or barking or just regular rabble-rousing, that is why. It's my neighborhood. So the first thing I want to talk about in today's video is the new updates in the Jayme Kloss case. Now, obviously, if you guys haven't been following Jayme's story was one that I followed from the moment she was kidnapped until she was returned. I watched very closely. I was really, really happy to find out that she had been found, even though her parents had been killed in the process, even though she lost so many months of her life. As a result of being kidnapped, at least she got home and she was able to come back to the family she had left, which is so often not the case when children are kidnapped. You always kind of expect the worst because that's usually what ends up happening.
I thought of how I could get away with kidnapping a girl. My biggest problem was always witnesses. I could control what I left behind as far as evidence, but not who saw me. That's when I thought of a home invasion kidnapping at night. I hadn't decided if I would kill the parents or just tie them up. It wasn't a moral problem. If I knew I killed them, it would get a lot more attention. But if I let them live there, if I left them live, there would be good witnesses. I finally decided it didn't matter how much attention it got. If I left no evidence or witnesses, it didn't matter if they sent 1,000 FBI agents if they had nothing to go on. Before I did this, I planned on taking multiple girls, killing multiple families. I wanted to treat them differently, play mind games with them. I also just wanted to scare people. I hated everyone, but no one in particular. Everyone I actually know I liked, but I hated society as a whole. I didn't care if I died. If I could get away with having the girl for a week, it was worth dying for.
And in Jayme's case, although so many traumatic things happened, she lost her parents to the man who kidnapped her because he killed them. She lost months of her life, at least she came home. So that's kind of the happiest ending to the story that I guess could happen. You know when you hear your dog just incessantly barking outside? Maybe do you tell it to stop or bring it in? No. Now, in as much justice as I suppose we can hope to achieve from a situation like this, Jake Patterson, her kidnapper, was sentenced to 2 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole for the murder of Jayme's parents and for her kidnapping. When Jake Patterson was sentenced on May 24th, the judge said to him, "I have no doubt that you are one of the most dangerous men to ever walk on this planet," which is a pretty bold statement, but pretty accurate in my opinion.
Not only were you a danger to the Kloss family, you are an extreme danger to the public in general. There is no doubt in my mind that you are one of the most dangerous men to ever walk on this planet.
You kidnapped this young girl. She was 13. You killed her parents so you could take her. And then you kept her in your cabin for months. 88 days she was held prisoner in his remote cabin in Wisconsin. Most of this time, he would make her hide under the bed keep her underneath the bed for hours while he was gone, sometimes as long as 12 hours without water or food or being able to go to the bathroom. She would have to stay under this bed. 88 days. She watched her parents get murdered in front of her. She was taken away from her home, from her life, from her friends, from her family. She missed Halloween. She missed Thanksgiving. She missed Christmas. She spent all of this time in some creep's cabin, being shoved under the bed like an old suitcase while he came and went as he pleased. Now, clearly, this girl is always going to have to carry this with her, this period of time in her life where basically her entire world, everything she knew, changed overnight. She made a statement in court when he was sentenced, and I'm going to read some of it to you because it really gives some insight into what an emotionally mature young woman she is, and how even though she knows what she's lost and she is sad for it, she knows that she's strong and she's going to get through it. She's going to live her life despite what he did to her. She's going to have to carry this with her, but she's strong enough to do that. Jayme Kloss said, "Last October, Jake Patterson took a lot of things that I loved away from me. It makes me the most sad that he took away my mom and my dad. I loved my mom and dad very much, and they loved me very much. They did all they could to make me happy and protect me. He took them away from me forever. I felt safe in my home, and I loved my room and all my belongings. He took all of that too. I don't even want to see my home or my stuff because of the memory of that night. My parents and my home were the most important things in my life. He took them away from me in a way that will always leave me with a horrifying memory. I have to have an alarm in the house now just so I can sleep. I used to love to go out with my friends. I used to love to go to school. I loved to do dance. He took all of those things away from me too. It's too hard for me to go out in public. I get scared and I get anxious. These are just ordinary things that anyone like me should be able to do, but I can't because he took them away from me. But there's some things that Jake Patterson can never take from me. He can't take my freedom. He thought that he could own me, but he was wrong. I was smarter. I watched his routine and I took back my freedom. I will always have my freedom and he will not. Jake Patterson can never take away my courage. He thought he could control me, but he couldn't. I feel like what he did is what a coward would do. I was brave. He was not. He can never take away my spirit. He thought that he could make me like him, but he was wrong. He can't ever change me or take away who I am. He can't stop me from being happy and moving forward with my life. I will go on to do great things in my life, and he will not. Jake Patterson will never have any power over me. I feel like I have some power over him because I get to tell the judge what I think should happen to him. He stole my parents from me. He stole almost everything I love from me. For 88 days, he tried to steal me, and he didn't care who he hurt or who he killed to do that. He should stay locked up forever." So this statement is incredibly powerful, right? Because it starts off talking about all the things that she's lost. Not only her personal belongings and her home, which she can never look at the same way because of the reminder that it holds for her of that night. The reminder that it holds for her of the life she had before Jake Patterson, the life she shared with her parents, who Jake killed. But also just the simple action of walking outside and feeling safe, of going to school and feeling safe, of hanging out with friends, going to dance lessons. Those things she doesn't have right now. She'll get them back eventually. I know she will. I can tell she will. She's strong and she's not going to let anybody stop her from living a happy life and going on to do great things, like she said. But for now, those things to her are incredibly difficult. They almost probably feel impossible. I loved when she said, "He can't stop me from being happy and moving forward with my life. I will go on to do great things in my life and he will not." I am so, so happy that Jayme Kloss has the opportunity to go on and do great things in her life, to be a voice for people that this has happened to, because so many children who are kidnapped never make it home. And she did. And she can support those who are in the same position. She can support the families of those who have lost children to kidnappings. She can be an advocate for these people if she wants to. If she doesn't want to, she can go on and do whatever she wants. She has that option now. She is very lucky. We are all very lucky to have been witness to this statement and the way she feels. This statement of strength and power that a 13-year-old girl holds inside of her. A self-assurance, a self-respect, a self-awareness that I think many people never achieve. Jayme Kloss has that. It's obviously very sad she lost her parents she'll never be the same. But Jake Patterson is going to be on the receiving end of some justice here. There's a lot of people who believe he should have received the death penalty. But Wisconsin was actually one of the first states in the United States to abolish the death penalty in 1853. So that is not an option at this point. I think considering the options we had, Jake Patterson is where he belongs. And I don't think he's going to get a lot of friends or support in prison because, like I've said in the past, even prisoners, hardened criminals, do not like people who commit crimes against children. And he's not going to have a very happy welcome in prison, I don't think. Next, I want to talk about another 13-year-old girl who did not make it home to her parents. Her name was Chloe Ricard. On May 20th at 4:47 p.m., Chloe Ricard was basically dropped off at a Massachusetts hospital in critical condition, and she did not survive. Now, we are not sure what her cause of death is. That hasn't been released yet. However, I do believe that it was drug involved or drug related. A 47-year-old Massachusetts man named Carlos Rivera has been arrested in connection with Chloe's death because he is the one who dropped her off at the hospital when she was sick or overdosing. I'm not actually sure. This is alleged. I have a feeling it has something to do with drugs because of certain things that Chloe's father said and because of the charges against Carlos, but it hasn't been stated yet that she died from a drug overdose. But what I assume happened was Chloe was with Carlos and this other young girl at his house, which it has been stated that she was at his home. He gave her drugs that he acquired, and then she overdosed and had a bad reaction. And then he and this other young girl just dropped her off at the hospital. Apparently, it was Sunday, May 19th, when Chloe was dropped off by her mother at a friend's house. When she didn't show up for school the next day, Chloe's mother, Deborah, and Chloe's stepfather, Brian, they got worried and they began to look for her. Apparently, after texting Chloe's friends and trying to figure out where she was, Deborah, Chloe's mother, figured out that Chloe had posted a Snapchat about wanting to run away. When she still couldn't find her, she filed a missing persons report at about 4 p.m. on Monday, which was the 20th. Shortly after that, she received a text from one of Chloe's friends saying that Chloe was at the hospital, but she was safe. But then soon after that, Chloe did pass away. Apparently, Chloe's father had died 5 years before, and she had struggled with that. I mean, obviously, that's incredibly traumatic. That would have made Chloe about 8 years old when her father died, the same age as my son, Aiden, and we are incredibly close. It's often that sons and mothers are very close, and daughters and fathers are very close. And having a father myself that I'm very close to, I understand that the bond between a father and his little girl is incredibly strong and special to the daughter. So to lose your father when you're 8, it has to be very traumatic. I can imagine that would be an incredibly hard thing to overcome. And according to friends and family, she had been struggling with it since it happened, and she hadn't really gotten over it yet. She was still very sad, falling into depression. So while Chloe's mother thought she was with a friend on Sunday, Chloe was actually with this guy, Carlos Rivera. She was staying in his first floor apartment at 59 Bellevue Street in Lawrence, Massachusetts. There was that other young girl there, another teenage girl, and it says here in the article that the three knew each other previously. So Chloe, this other underage girl, and Carlos Rivera all knew each other previously, but we haven't figured out, or it hasn't been divulged yet, how they knew each other. Apparently, Chloe's parents have never even heard of him, so they weren't aware of his existence before they heard about his arrest in connection with their daughter's death. The way that Chloe was brought to the hospital, there's different accounts based on eyewitnesses. Some people say that Rivera and the girl that was with him, they just basically threw her out of the car when they got to the hospital. Other witnesses say there was attempts to revive her while they were in the car, but we're not sure which is more accurate or close to the truth. And it doesn't really matter, in my opinion, because if you see somebody is having issues and they're overdosing or whatever happened to her, you don't make an effort to revive her yourself because you don't know what you're doing. You also just don't throw her out of a car at the ER or the hospital. You call an ambulance, and get her taken care of so paramedics can help her immediately upon their arrival. People who know how to revive somebody or know how to handle a person when they're in a status of overdosing or whatever happened to her. You don't drive her to the hospital yourself, trying to help her while you're driving there, and then just throw her out like a bag of garbage once you get there. Carlos Rivera faces multiple felony charges, including 2 counts of providing Class B drugs to a minor. Class B drugs defined by Massachusetts law include cocaine, crack, methamphetamine, and OxyContin. Authorities have not revealed which drugs were given to Chloe yet. Rivera was also charged with 1 count of indecent assault on a child younger than 14 and 1 count of indecent assault on a child older than 14. Individuals convicted of this charge serve jail time and must register as a sex offender and provide a DNA sample that is placed in the state's DNA database. Carlos Rivera is scheduled for arraignment on Tuesday, May 28th, which will be the day this video posts, so it'll be interesting to see what kinds of jail time he's facing. Hopefully it's quite a bit. I know it's not going to be as much as we want it to be. In my opinion, once again, somebody who does something like this, first of all, he's giving drugs to a 13-year-old girl. She's 13. She clearly has some emotional issues right now. She's struggling with some deep and dark internal turmoil, and he's giving her drugs. It looks like there was some sort of relationship there that shouldn't have been happening between a man in his 40s and a girl who is 13 years old. If he provided the drugs that led to her death, there needs to be some sort of manslaughter charges. So I'm looking at the Massachusetts state laws, and I think this could definitely count as involuntary manslaughter, which in Massachusetts is defined as an unlawful killing that was unintentionally caused as the result of the defendant's wanton or reckless conduct. Giving drugs to a 13-year-old, definitely reckless, definitely wanton. He might not have meant to kill her, and I definitely don't think that he went into this saying, I hope this girl dies, but that doesn't really matter, because in the end, if I'm correct, and the drugs that were provided to Chloe caused her to overdose or caused her death in some way, that's involuntary manslaughter. You are responsible for the death of that young girl. You just are. There's so many layers to this, you know, it's not just 2 people who were of the same age and on even playing fields doing drugs together, and then one of them overdoses and dies. This is a grown man who took a young child, 13 years old, gave her drugs, and she died. There's uneven power levels here. There's abuse going on. There's so many laws broken, so much moral and ethical lines being crossed that this is just a very deep case, a very disturbing and tragic case for a girl who was already going through so much in her life, who needed help, who needed a strong, helpful, friendly figure who would lead her in the right direction. She happened to come across this man, Carlos Rivera, who was just toxic and took advantage of her weak mental state, gave her drugs, and, you know, ended up ending her life. So it's very, very sad, and I hope he gets more than your standard providing drugs to a minor charges, because he deserves much more. Sadly, Chloe's funeral has been scheduled for the same day as Rivera's arraignment, so her funeral will be held tomorrow or today, the day this video posts, which is Tuesday.
It's very hard. You have to go to an arraignment, and then you have to go to your daughter's funeral in one day. That's going to be a real tough day. My wife's still beside herself. She's really, you know, she's trying. She's getting all the stuff together, and she's struggling. I know she is. Hopefully
her family has some peace. Hopefully her family gets the justice they deserve. Let me know what you guys think about these stories. Jayme Closs and Chloe Ricard, 2 13-year-old girls who fell into circumstances that they never should have had to face at their age or ever. I mean, let's be honest, nobody at any age wants to deal with the things that these 2 girls had to go through at such young ages. So let me know what you think in the comments. The Sleuthany shop is open. The Allegedly shirt's in there. I will link it in the description box. There's also the Don't Come For Me shirt, and the Is It Monday Yet shirt is there, and the Stay Kind, Stay Beautiful as well. I'll make sure all those campaigns have relaunched so that you guys can go in and purchase if you would like. If you have any case recommendations or just want to say hello, my email is stephanieharlowe@gmail.com. On Instagram, you can find me at Stephanie Harlowe, and on Twitter, I am at Steph_Harlowe. And the Harlowe always has an E on the end of it. Thank you guys so much. Stay kind and stay beautiful, and I'll see you next time. Bye.
Take my pleasure from my alcohol.